Her boots scraped dirt in short, panicked kicks. The rope creaked above her head. Her face was darkening, eyes wide, mouth open but empty. Someone laughed. Someone spat. The knot held. A horse burst through the crowd. Men jumped back. A woman screamed. The rancher didn't shout. He rode straight in, coat flaring, eyes fixed on the rope like it owed him something. Steel flashed. The knife cut clean. The rope snapped loose. Her body dropped hard, knees folding, dust lifting. She dragged air like it hurt. He grabbed her before she fell again. Noise came back all at once. Shouting. Boots moving. Anger boiling fast. Hands reached for him. He stepped in front of her, wide, solid, blocking every angle. Don't, someone yelled. She killed him, another voice said. Not today, the rancher said, calm and flat. You cut her down, you answer for it. I already am. The woman clutched her throat, coughing, skin marked red and purple. Her eyes locked on him like he was the last thing standing. He felt the crowd lean forward again. You don't get to decide, a man said. We already did. The rancher shook his head once. No speeches. Just space. He kept his hands loose, ready. She tried to stand. Her legs failed. He caught her again. Stay down, he said. Breathe. The rope lay coiled near her boot, still moving. Someone kicked dirt over the rope. Someone else picked it up, held it like proof. The rancher stared them down. You want this, you come through me, the woman whispered something. He bent closer. Her voice scraped raw. Water, she said. He nodded once but didn't move away from the crowd. A man at the edge laughed wrong. This ain't over. The rancher met his eyes. Nothing ever is. The woman's breathing slowed, but her shaking didn't. He felt it against his arm. He stayed there, planted, feeling the weight settle on him. Hands argued in the air. Voices overlapped. Hang her now. Let her speak. She ain't worth it. The rancher felt spit hit his cheek and didn't wipe it away. He tasted metal, not blood, just the thought of it. He shifted his feet wider. Anyone steps closer, he said. That's the line. The woman pressed her face into her hands. Don't let them, she whispered. He didn't answer. He watched the men who wouldn't meet his eyes. A rock sailed past and hit the post behind him. Wood cracked. Someone cursed. He didn't turn around. You think you're better, a woman shouted. You think your land makes you king. He shook his head slow. I think she's alive. That quieted nothing. It just sharpened it. The crowd leaned like one body again. The rope holder stepped forward. She made a sound then, small and broken. He felt it cut through him. He raised his hand once. Stop before a breath, they did. Dust settled. A baby cried somewhere. The rancher swallowed and held his ground. He smelled sweat and old anger. This was how it always started. Not with law. With noise pretending to be truth. A man pushed forward and stopped when the rancher didn't move. They stood close enough to breathe the same air. You're wrong, the man said. Maybe, the rancher said. Move. The woman coughed again, softer now. He felt her fingers grip his sleeve. That was it. The moment settled. He knew it wouldn't lift. Faces blurred together. Friends he'd known since childhood looked through him. The woman kept her eyes on the dirt. He wondered if any of them would remember this day right. He doubted it. Someone said his name. He didn't answer. He listened for boots, for guns, for the break. The woman leaned closer. I'm still here, she said. He nodded without looking. The crowd shifted again, restless, hungry for someone else to decide. A wind stirred dust at their feet. It felt like waiting. He tightened his jaw. He wasn't leaving. Not now. The rope lay forgotten for a second. He watched it, promised himself it wouldn't rise again. Someone whispered law. Someone whispered blood. He breathed in once. He held it. Enough. Sheriff's gonna hear about this, someone said, low and certain. The rancher didn't answer. He just stood there, between her and everyone else. She coughed until tears ran down her cheeks. Her wrists burned where the rope had bitten, red and raw, and she flexed them, testing, wincing. Dust stuck to sweat. The rancher held her close enough to steady her but didn't touch more than he had to. His eyes scanned the crowd like a rifle sight, slow, deliberate, counting movement, tension, threat. The rope lay on the ground like a dead snake, coiled and still. He didn't look at it. He looked at her. "Breathe," he said. She coughed again. "Water," she whispered. "Not yet," he said. "Not here." "What's her name?" a voice shouted from the edge of the crowd. Harsh. Accusing. A man in a hat stepped forward, hands on hips, chest puffed. "She's a killer, and we have the right," he stopped, noticing the rancher. "Doesn't matter," another said, a woman, younger, maybe barely grown, voice thin but hard. "She's trouble. Always has been. Always will be." The rancher shook his head once. "Say it anyway," he said. His voice was low, almost private, though it carried across the tense space. He didn't look away. The woman behind him flinched with each new shout. "She'll speak when she's ready," he said. "You don't get to speak for her." The crowd murmured. A whistle of wind made it rise. Eyes flicked toward fences, toward windows, toward the edge of town. The sheriff arrived late. Dust rolled behind his horse as he stopped in the street, calm, too calm. Badge catching the light, but nothing more. He looked at the rancher. He looked at her. He looked at the rope on the ground. "Step aside," the sheriff said, voice flat. No one moved. "Let me handle it." The rancher didn't. He held her tighter, just enough, grounding her. "Not your handle. Not yet." "She can't even breathe," someone said. "You're killing her slow." "She's alive," he said, blunt. "I'll handle the slow part myself." "Not yours." Another voice spat out a name she had never heard. She flinched. She coughed. She tried to speak but only a hoarse rasp came. "Do you even know her?" a man said, stepping closer. "I do," the rancher said. "That's enough." She stared up at him, lips trembling, eyes pleading. He ignored the crowd. He ignored the rope. He focused on her breathing, the rise and fall of her chest, the small shivers in her arms. "Say something," a woman yelled, hands on the post. "Give us a reason not to hang her again." The rancher shook his head. "She already survived once. That's reason enough. You'll wait your turn with the rest." The crowd leaned forward. Murmurs turned into threats, just under a shout. She could hear every syllable, every accusation, every name. The world around her narrowed. She couldn't move. Couldn't think. Only the rancher's voice cut through the chaos. "So are storms," he said to someone muttering from the back. "They pass, and they leave the ground changed. This ain't one yet. Come. Listen." The sheriff's horse pawed the ground. Dust rose again. No one moved except their eyes, darting, calculating, restless. He did not take off his hat. He just waited, letting the tension stretch. She tried again, voice barely a whisper. Nothing came. The rancher pressed a hand lightly to her shoulder. "Steady," he said. Her eyes met his, wet and scared. She whispered, almost to herself, almost afraid to be heard. "Eleanor," she said. One word. Barely more than air. He repeated it softly, almost to himself. Eleanor. The name settled in his mouth, grounding him, focusing the storm. He nodded once. "That's right," he said. "That's who you are." The crowd leaned forward again, still hungry. The rope on the ground gleamed faintly in the sun, dead but accusatory. The sheriff adjusted his badge. Still, he said nothing more. Eyes cold, flat. He waited. The crowd fidgeted, restless, unsure. Eleanor's breathing slowed slightly. The rancher didn't relax. He didn't dare. Not yet. The tension hummed through the space like electricity. Everyone was waiting for the next move, but he refused to give them one. A man stepped forward, voice cracking, trying to regain control. You can't just. You don't know her name, the rancher said, cutting him off. And you won't until she chooses. Not before. Not ever. The crowd went quiet, almost stunned. Some muttered. Some cursed under their breath. Dust settled between boots. A breeze rattled the rope. Eleanor leaned against him slightly, trembling but alive. The sheriff dismounted slowly. Nothing changed. Badge gleaming. Eyes empty. He moved closer but kept distance. I won't stop it, he said. But neither will I push. The rancher nodded once. Eleanor whispered her name again. He let it linger. It was enough. She had spoken. She existed. The rope, the crowd, the anger, they were still there, but she had reclaimed a piece of herself. He held her, steady, breathing together. Around them, the town waited. Eleanor's name was soft, private, unshakable. The storm had started, but it had not yet landed. Dust swirled. Eyes watched. Boots shifted. The rope lay dead, waiting, forgotten for now. Eleanor's whisper repeated in his mind. He didn't let it go. That was the first victory, quiet, unseen, but absolute. The crowd's voices folded into each other, overlapping, repeating. Eleanor clutched at the rancher's arm, still trembling, still coughing, still trying to breathe. They spoke as if speaking enough made it true. She killed him. She should hang. She belonged to no one. The dead man belonged to the old family. The rancher counted faces, counted accusations, but not one of them met her eyes. The rope on the ground waited like a question that didn't need answering. You see her do it, a man asked, spitting dirt. He leaned forward, chest out. Did you see her swing that knife? Did you see the life leave him? I saw enough, another voice said, flat. No detail. No proof. Just enough. Enough to satisfy the need for certainty. Enough ain't seeing, the rancher said, voice low and heavy. He planted himself in front of her, legs wide, shoulders braced. Enough ain't truth. You're guessing. Stop calling it justice. A woman at the back laughed bitterly. You calling us liars? She asked. Her eyes darted between rancher and sheriff. Or just scared? I'm calling you scared, he said. The words landed like stones. Faces flickered, some angry, some wary. None moved forward. They had spent too long building this story. No one wanted to hear a challenge. Eleanor pressed against him, silent. He felt her small, shaking hands on his sleeve. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The murmurs, the accusations, the certainty of the town, it was enough to carry guilt for everyone. She carried none of it. Not yet. The sheriff's boots crunched over dust. He stopped at the edge of the crowd, hands on hips, badge glinting, eyes flat. No one dared move. The rancher didn't look at him. He looked at Eleanor. Take her home, the sheriff said finally. Voice flat, measured. For the night. Keep her safe until this settles. The rancher's jaw tightened. She's not yours to take, he said. And I'm not hiding her from you. I'm protecting her from them. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. From them? He glanced at the rope coiled on the ground. They saw what they saw. They saw what they wanted, the rancher said. They saw pieces, fragments, guesses. Nothing real. Voices in the crowd rose again. Some cursed. Some whispered old names. The dead man's family. Ancestors who had ruled this land for decades. They remembered. They wanted revenge. They wanted the story told their way. She killed him, someone shouted. You can't let her. She's alive, the rancher said. That's the law right now. A man spat. Law? Law don't mean nothing here. We decide. We've always decided. You decided once, the rancher said. Once. That rope snapped. That's done. You can't keep deciding for her life forever. The town shifted as one body, leaning, murmuring, circling, testing. Eleanor's breathing caught again. She held her throat where the rope had bitten. Blood mixed with dust. The rancher felt it, pressed against him. Not much, just enough. You think she'll speak, a young woman whispered from the back. Her voice trembled, uncertain. She will, the rancher said. When it matters. Not now. Not for them. The crowd's chant rose, louder, faster. Guilty. Killer. Death. The words repeated in a rhythm that made Eleanor flinch. She pressed herself into him, trying to disappear, trying to shrink. He held her tighter. You don't understand, an older man said. This isn't just him. It's the family. The line. You can't undo what she did. She didn't do it, the rancher said. Not like you think. Not like your story says. Voices paused, hesitant. Someone muttered a curse under their breath. The rope gleamed faintly in the sun, coiled and empty. Proof, accusation, waiting. Eleanor finally spoke, quiet, almost lost in the wind. They didn't see it, she said. The rancher let her words hang, heavy. He pressed a hand lightly to her shoulder. I saw, he said. I believe you. The sheriff stepped closer, voice low. Then you take her. I won't stop you, but I won't protect you from the town. The rancher's eyes scanned the edges of the crowd. Faces blurred, accusing, hungry for clarity that wasn't theirs to take. I'll keep her safe tonight, he said. You stay out of this. A silence followed, heavy, almost unbroken. Eleanor leaned into him, trembling. Dust settled around boots. A rope swayed faintly in the breeze, meaningless, waiting. The crowd muttered, turned, and slowly began to step back. Not defeated. Not convinced. Just waiting. The rancher held Eleanor's hand as they moved toward his land. Her voice was almost gone, but her name lingered. It was the only truth that mattered right now. And as they passed the edge of the crowd, the rancher realized the storm had only just begun. Eleanor sat on the porch, knees pulled up, arms wrapped around them, staring at nothing. Her hands were raw, wrists red where the rope had cut. The rancher knelt beside her, holding the knife loosely in one hand, the other pressing gently to her shoulder as he cut the last fibers away. Dust mixed with blood on his fingers. He didn't flinch. She flinched enough for both of them. You gonna lock me up? She asked, voice small, almost a rasp. No, he said. You gonna run? No. Then drink, he said. He pulled a cup of water from the well and held it to her lips. She drank slowly, shivering, coughing, tasting iron and dust. The porch creaked under their weight. Silence stretched long, heavy, filled with the smell of sweat and rope burn. Dust hung in the air like a ghost. The town was still behind them. Somewhere, someone muttered a name, cursed, spat. He didn't look. Didn't react. He only waited for her to breathe. Why'd you save me? She whispered finally, voice raw. Because I was there, he said. No one else mattered. Not now. Not the rope. Not the shouts. He could feel their anger like a living thing behind the walls, pressing forward, but he didn't let it touch him. She shook her head. I'm trouble. Not here, he said. Not anymore. She leaned back, hands still shaking, fingers brushing the sun-bleached wood of the porch. Dust rose as she moved. He noticed every tremor, every inhale, every small bite of courage it took to stay sitting. He didn't speak. Words weren't necessary. He just stayed, planted, steady. A horse's hooves clattered at the fence line. Someone stopped riding. Watching. Not speaking. The rancher didn't flinch. Eleanor stiffened, gripping her knees tighter. He placed a hand on hers, light, grounding. "It's okay," he said. "Not tonight." She swallowed hard. Eyes darted toward the fence. He could see the calculation, the measure of risk in her gaze. She wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of everyone else. The horse moved slightly, shifting weight, waiting, unbroken, quiet. I thought I was done," she said, voice breaking. "I thought that rope." "I know," he said. "I know." He helped her steady her hands, brushing dust and blood from her wrists. He didn't stop. He pressed lightly, just enough to feel the tremor under his touch. She didn't pull away. That was progress. The wind shifted. Dust swirled across the porch boards, carrying a faint murmur of the town behind them. Eleanor flinched. He tightened his hold on her shoulder, just a little, a reminder. This was his land. His problem. Her safety was in his hands now. "You'll be safe here," he said. "No one passes without me knowing." She nodded, but didn't speak. The rope's memory lingered in the back of her mind, in every ache, in every shiver. He felt it too, pressed into him as a weight he couldn't shake. But he refused to name it. Refused to let it define her. A crow called somewhere above, loud and sudden, breaking the silence. Eleanor flinched. He let it happen, held her steady. "Not yet," he said, voice low. "We're not done, but not yet." The fence line was still. The horse was still. A rider somewhere, just beyond sight, waiting. Watching. Measuring. The town would come eventually. They always did. But right now, the porch was a small world. Safe, if only for the moment. She finally shifted, letting her arms rest on her knees, leaning back against the wall. "I don't know why anyone does this for me." He didn't answer immediately. He pulled a small cloth from his pocket and pressed it to her wrists. "Because you're alive," he said finally. "That's reason enough." The sun was low, casting long shadows across the porch. Dust moved in the light, making patterns that weren't there. Eleanor watched them, trying to understand how a place could be safe and haunted at the same time. "I hear them sometimes," she whispered. "Footsteps at night." "I can't, it's like they never left." "I hear them too," he said. "I dream them. The rope tightens in my sleep. But we're here. Together. That matters." She leaned her head back, eyes closed. He watched her, silent, noticing every tremor, every small sigh. The world outside the porch existed, but they had this space, this time. He let it hold them both. The horse shifted again. Dust rose. Eyes watched from the edge of the fence. The rancher didn't move. Eleanor didn't run. They stayed, steady, waiting, listening. The rope lay behind them, the town behind it, for now forgotten. The wind carried voices before the riders appeared. Dust stirred in the distance. Eleanor's hands twitched, fingers brushing the edge of the porch. She didn't speak. The rancher didn't look away. He had already counted the cost of being seen. They had always watched first. Always. It was how the town measured power, how they circled a person like wolves. "They won't stop," Eleanor said quietly, leaning against the railing. Her voice was a thin thread in the air, but it held weight. "They never do," he said. He looked past her to the fence, to the faint shapes of riders silhouetted against the dying light. The horses were calm, waiting. Calculating. Watching. They didn't know what to do yet, and neither did the people on them. "Why'd you do it?" she asked. Voice sharp now, trembling. She meant the rope, the rescue, the choice that had changed everything. "Because I was there," he said. His eyes didn't move. His hand rested lightly on the railing, steadying both of them. He didn't flinch. Not at the horses, not at the riders, not at the memory of the rope. Eleanor shook her head. I'm trouble. You're trouble too. Doesn't matter. Not tonight. He watched the riders slow, spreading out, testing the land, testing him. Every hoofbeat carried a question. Every glance carried judgment. The town's power was built on patience, on waiting for someone to falter first. You ever feel it? She asked, whispering. That, something behind the walls? Footsteps that aren't there? He nodded slowly. Every night. Dreams full of rope, tight and biting. Always the rope. You hear it too? Yes. Her voice was small. Always at night. I wake up thinking. I'm back there. Then you know. He didn't explain. She did. That was enough. Understanding didn't require words. Fear didn't need justification. The past clung to them both, a presence in every shadow. The riders moved closer, circling, measuring distance. Eleanor flinched again. He didn't move. Not yet, he said. Let them wait. A note, pinned to the fence with a small nail, fluttered in the breeze. No signature. No mark. Just a message meant to unsettle, meant to remind. Eleanor stared at it. Her hands twitched. He waited until she looked at him. They're watching, she said, tone low, almost reverent in its fear. I know, he said. We're not hiding. We're here. They'll see. They always do. That's how they operate. That's all they know. Waiting. Watching. Testing. Eleanor leaned against the porch, head tilted, eyes sharp. You've already lost, haven't you? He didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. I've lost standing. That's true. But not her. Not now. The riders shifted again. Horses pawed the ground, ears flicking. They hadn't made a move yet. They were still learning, still measuring. The rancher's hand brushed Eleanor's, steadying her. She didn't pull away. They'll come, she said. Eventually. All of them. They won't let it go. They never do, he repeated. His voice carried quiet certainty, but it wasn't arrogance. It was reality. They'd face the crowd, face the rumor, face the power that had always measured them. They would face it together. A crow cried somewhere above. Eleanor flinched again. The riders adjusted, their attention flicking toward the sound. The world outside the porch moved with quiet threat. Footsteps in the dirt, even in empty spaces. Every shadow held judgment, every silence held menace. Why me? She asked, whispering. Why do they care so much? Because you exist, he said. Because you survived. Because you reminded them they can't decide everything. That's why. Eleanor's hands gripped the railing. Dust settled around them. The note on the fence moved again in the wind. The riders didn't approach, just watched, horses shifting. Waiting. Always watching first. She leaned back, pressing against the porch. I hate this, she said softly. I hate them. I hate what they want from me. You're not theirs, he said. Not ever. That rope? That night? It was theirs, and they failed. You survived. That matters. That's enough for now. A gust of wind scattered dust across the porch, across the note, across the horses' hooves. The air was thick with expectation, tension, the quiet calculation of a town that never acted until it was ready. Eleanor's eyes flicked to him. We're alone? Not alone, he said. They're here. Watching. Waiting. But tonight, this land, this porch, it's ours. For now. The riders shifted one last time, nudged forward by some silent command. Horses snorted, hooves scuffed. The town was circling, still. Patience was their weapon. Fear was theirs to claim. But not tonight. Eleanor exhaled slowly, shivering. He pressed a hand lightly on her shoulder. "We're still here," he said. "That's enough." She nodded. The porch creaked under their weight, holding them, protecting them. The rope was behind them. The crowd was still beyond the horizon. For now, the night was theirs to breathe, fragile but real. The sheriff arrived alone, boots crunching on dry dirt, horses' hooves slow, deliberate. Dust swirled around him, faint in the fading light. He stopped at the edge of the rancher's land, hand resting near his holster but not on it. Badge glinted in the sun, cold, detached. His eyes scanned the porch, Eleanor, the rancher. No expression, only calculation. The riders had melted into the horizon, leaving him. He came for authority, not justice. "Hand her over," he said, voice low, steady, carrying weight. Not a request. Not a threat. A statement. Eleanor flinched behind the rancher. He didn't move. "For what?" the rancher asked, voice even. Not fear, not challenge, just fact. "For peace," the sheriff said. He gestured vaguely toward the empty distance, toward the town circling in rumor, in anticipation. "You've stirred them up. Let them calm down. Let it settle." "Peace ain't quiet," the rancher said. His eyes met the sheriff's. "No one else existed. And I don't trade her life for silence." The sheriff's hand hovered near his holster. He didn't draw. He didn't need to. Threat was enough. "You think you can hold her? Against them?" "I know I can," the rancher said. "Tonight. Tomorrow. I'll hold her until they figure it out. If they ever do." Eleanor clutched her arms across her chest, watching the exchange, listening to the unspoken danger. She had learned fear, and she had survived it. She pressed back against the porch wall, trembling, but steady. "You can't fight everyone," the sheriff said, voice flat, almost bored. "You think you're the law now? You think this land gives you authority over all of them?" "I don't think," the rancher said. "I know. I know enough to keep her alive. That's all I need." The sheriff stepped closer. Dust rose with each step. He looked at the rope coiled near the porch post, at Eleanor's wrists, at the rancher's hands. "You're making this personal," he said. "That's a mistake. Don't let it cloud your judgment." "I don't judge," the rancher said. "I protect." The sheriff's eyes narrowed, calculating. "You protect her. But what about yourself? You think the town will let you live after this? After what you did?" "I already answered that," the rancher said. "I am answering for it now. And I will answer for it tomorrow if I have to. But I will not hand her over." Eleanor's breath caught. She had expected someone to demand her. Expected someone to push. She hadn't expected the calm, the certainty. She had expected threats, guns, rope. Instead, she got a standoff. And the rancher didn't flinch. The sheriff's hand brushed his holster again, slow, deliberate. "I can take her by force," he said. "I can do what the law demands." "You won't," the rancher said. "Not tonight. Not me." A crow cried above, startling Eleanor. She flinched. He pressed his hand lightly on her shoulder. Not as warning, as grounding. "It's okay," he said. "They don't get to touch you. Not yet." The sheriff's gaze flicked toward her, then back to the rancher. "You're defying me," he said quietly. "You know what that means?" "I do," the rancher said. "And I accept it. But she stays here. With me." The sheriff stepped back slightly, loosening his posture but not his authority. Badge glinting, gun still holstered, eyes cold. He let a pause stretch long, heavy, full of meaning. No one moved except the wind, dust rising around their boots. "Then it's coming," the sheriff said softly. "Not a threat. A promise. One the rancher felt press into his chest like weight. Eleanor flinched again. He did not. He pressed back just enough to show her she was safe. For now. You think you're ready for that? The sheriff asked. For the wrath that will follow? The town won't forgive. They'll come. They always do. I'll meet them, the rancher said. If they come. The sheriff studied him, eyes calculating. Brave. Or foolish. Maybe both. But you're on your own now. Remember that. I know, the rancher said. I've never counted on anyone else. Not now. The sheriff mounted slowly, dust swirling around him. He glanced at Eleanor one last time, expression unreadable. He spurred his horse forward, leaving the porch, leaving them, leaving the weight of his warning behind. Dust settled again. Silence stretched across the land. Eleanor exhaled slowly, trembling, leaning into the rancher. He pressed a hand lightly to her arm. She wasn't safe forever. Not by a long shot. But tonight, she survived. And that mattered. The rope lay still behind them. The town's whispers were distant now, carried by wind, waiting, circling, calculating. The sheriff had chosen. But so had the rancher. And they both knew that choice would bring a reckoning. Eleanor's eyes found his. What happens now? We wait, he said. We survive. And we make sure they don't decide for us. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the porch. Dust swirled. Silence held them. The wind carried threats, but also the quiet knowledge that for now, they had chosen each other. They had survived the first wave. The real test, the town, the sheriff, the wrath, was coming. And they would face it together. Eleanor sat on the porch, knees drawn up, staring at her hands. Dust and blood had dried into a rough map across her skin. The rancher sat beside her, silent, waiting. He didn't push. Didn't ask. She was fragile, raw, but something in her shifted. She needed to speak. Not for the town, not for the rope, not for the sheriff. She needed to speak for herself. He touched me, she said finally, voice barely above a whisper. The words cut through the evening air, sharp, raw, trembling. She didn't look at him. She couldn't. Too much weight in those words, too much past packed into a single sentence. Say it again, the rancher said, voice low, patient. He didn't push. He didn't demand. He just held the space for her truth. He wouldn't stop, she said. Her eyes stayed on her knees. Dust fell from them like small tears. I screamed. I ran. They looked away. They looked away, he said softly. You weren't lying. You weren't wrong. A wind rattled the porch boards. Somewhere in the distance, the faint echo of hooves or voices made her flinch. Not here, he said silently. Not tonight. They killed him, they say, she whispered. Because he's dead, they needed me guilty. Because I belonged to no one. I didn't kill him. The rancher's hand pressed lightly to hers. I know, he said. His voice was calm, absolute. I believe you. I don't need proof. Why? She asked, shaking slightly. Why do you? Because I was there, he said. Because I saw the rope, the fear, the lies. Because they weren't brave enough to see you. I did. That's reason enough. She closed her eyes, head resting against the wall. Memories rose unbidden, shouts, ropes, fists, the cold night air. She had felt invisible, erased, but not tonight. Not while he was here. They wanted me silent, she said. Everyone did. The town, the sheriff, the old family. No one wanted the truth. Not my words, not my story. They only wanted me gone. And now, he asked. Now, she whispered, voice trembling. I don't know. I don't know if I can stop them from trying again. You don't have to, he said. I'll be here. I'll hold them back. We survive, together. A pause stretched. Dust settled around the porch. The rope lay coiled at the edge of the boards, dead but still present, a reminder of what had been. Eleanor's hands twitched. She flexed her fingers. She pressed them together, slowly, deliberately, reclaiming a small piece of herself. They saw what they wanted to see, she said. They didn't see me. They didn't see the truth. They only saw the end they already decided on. They'll see it, he said. When the time comes. But tonight isn't that time. Tonight, you're alive. That's all that matters. She opened her eyes. I was hoping someone would listen. Someone would just understand. Not judge. I understand, he said. That's enough. That's all that counts. Forget the town. Forget the rope. Forget their eyes. You're here. You're alive. That's the start. She shook her head slowly, a small, broken smile forming. I feel like I've been erased, she said. Like everything I was, gone. Not gone, he said firmly. Buried, maybe. But not gone. Not while you breathe. Not while I see you. You exist. And I won't let them tell you otherwise. Her voice dropped further, almost a whisper, raw and private. I don't know if anyone will ever believe me. I do, he said. And that's enough. We don't need their belief. We just need survival. That's the truth. The rest is their story. Not yours. Her shoulders sagged slightly. She pressed back against the wall, trembling, but steadier than before. He let her lean. Let her be fragile. She had survived the rope, the town, the accusations. She would survive this too. A gunshot rang out in the distance. Not close, not aimed at them, but a warning, a signal. Eleanor flinched. He pressed a hand to hers. Not tonight, he said. They're just testing. Let them test. We're ready. The rope lay silent behind them. Dust stirred in the fading light. Eleanor looked at him, finally, fully, eyes steady. Thank you, she whispered. Not for rescuing her from the rope. Not for holding her against the town. Not for believing her. But for letting her be alive. We survive, he said. Together. That's all we need right now. The wind moved again. Shadows stretched. The distant town murmured, waiting, circling. But on the porch, the rope dead, the dust settled, and Eleanor finally allowed herself a small, shivering breath. She was still here. She had survived. The truth didn't matter to anyone else. It mattered to her. And for now, that was enough. Smoke curled across the horizon before the flames appeared. Eleanor saw the first orange flicker as they stepped from the porch into the yard. The barn at the edge of the rancher's land burned. Not his barn, not yet, but close enough to send a message. The acrid smell of smoke drifted toward them. The rancher's jaw tightened. Dust mixed with ash in the wind, and Eleanor pressed herself against him, trembling. They're telling us something, she said, voice low, raw, almost reverent in fear. I hear it, he said. His hand pressed lightly on her shoulder. Not holding her back, holding her steady. Flames reflected in the metal of the water trough, the spurs on his boots. Every shadow stretched, warped by fire and smoke. We can still leave, she whispered, eyes wide, scanning the blackened horizon. No. This is where it stops, he said. His voice carried weight, certainty, refusal. Not by running. Not by hiding. We face it. Eleanor shivered, but didn't move. The heat reached them in waves. Sparks drifted past, small, hungry, dangerous. She swallowed, eyes fixed on the flames licking the barn's wood. They're punishing us, she said. Or warning. I don't know which. Both, he said. They speak with fire. That's their language. But we know ours. Survival. Silence. Watching. And refusal. A shadow moved at the fence line. Someone, maybe two, watching. Horses shifted in the distance. The town had not arrived yet, but they were circling. Always circling. Testing. Waiting. The fire gave them voice without stepping forward. They're trying to scare us, Eleanor said. It's working. Only if we let it, he said. Watch, breathe, wait. Fire is a message. Not an end. She pressed back against the porch wall, trembling, staring at him. What if they take it further? What if it's not a warning? Then we fight. Then we survive. One step at a time. He didn't look away from the flames, didn't blink. He just held her steady. The barn burned brighter, the fire's reflection dancing across his face. Eleanor noticed the small details, smoke rising in spirals, embers falling like sparks of anger, shadows stretching unnaturally. Every movement in the distance felt intentional, measured, threatening. They're telling us a story, she whispered. A story of power. Of fear. Of what happens if we don't obey. And we're writing ours, he said. That story starts with surviving the night. That's the first sentence. Every other word comes after. The wind shifted. Sparks landed on dry grass. Eleanor flinched, pressing against him. He didn't flinch. He only adjusted his stance, weight balanced, eyes on the fire. Not a single step back, he said. Not tonight. The sound of crackling wood was loud. Almost a roar in the quiet of the evening. Eleanor covered her ears. It's like it's alive, she said. It is, he said. And we're alive too. That's what matters. We don't fight fire with fire. We fight it by standing. She shivered again. Smoke stung her eyes. She blinked rapidly. I can't, it's too much. Then look at me, he said. Don't look at them. Don't look at the flames. Look at me. We're still here. That's enough. A shadow detached itself from the fence line, moving closer, careful. The town's riders had returned, circling, observing. Not yet charging, not yet demanding. Waiting. Testing. Fire had spoken. They were responding. They'll come closer, Eleanor said. Voice low, trembling. They won't wait. Not forever. Let them, he said. His tone was calm, unflinching. We know this land. We know each other. That gives us the advantage. Fear is theirs, not ours. The fire crackled louder. Sparks drifted toward the porch, falling harmlessly onto the wood. Eleanor watched the reflection of flames in his eyes. Strength, patience, certainty. She clung to it. They won't stop, she said finally. Voice almost a whisper. They never do. No, he said. But we're ready. Fire is their language. We speak ours. Survival. Silence. Watching. And refusal. That's enough for tonight. The night deepened. Smoke rolled across the land, drifting toward the town. Fire reflected off metal and glass, shadows stretched across the porch, the house, the yard. The rope lay behind them, useless now. They didn't need it. Fire was the message, but they had each other. Eleanor exhaled slowly, shivering. He pressed a hand to hers, grounding her, steadying her. We're still here, he said. That's all that matters. Somewhere beyond the smoke, a horse shifted, a shadow moved. The town was circling. Waiting. Testing. But the porch, the land, the fire, and them, they were theirs for now. Temporary. Fragile. But unbroken. Eleanor looked at the flames, then at him. We survive, she whispered. Yes, he said. We survive. Together. Lanterns bobbed at the edge of the trees, glowing faintly in the night, shadows stretching long across the dust. Eleanor pressed against the porch wall, shivering, hands clutching the railing. The rancher stood beside her, calm, breathing steady, eyes scanning. The town had arrived. Not a single leader in sight, just bodies, silhouettes, voices overlapping, murmuring, waiting. Step aside, a voice called from the edge of the light. Harsh. Uncertain. A test. No, the rancher said. His voice was flat, firm. Eleanor leaned back into him, trusting him to hold the space, trusting him to hold them both. He ain't worth this, another voice said, carrying judgment, impatience, fear. She is, someone else said, louder. Certain. Eleanor felt the words vibrate in the air, brushing across her skin like hands. They were wrong, and right, all at once. The rope from that night coiled, alive in memory, was held by one of the faceless figures. A challenge. A test. The town's silence was a weight pressing down, heavy, waiting for action. Eleanor's hands trembled. She didn't reach for the rope. She waited. You gonna let them? The rancher asked quietly. He didn't move toward the crowd. He let them test him. Let them measure him. They've always done it, Eleanor said. Circle, test, threaten. Never act first. Never show their faces. They won't, he said. Not tonight. Not against her. Her name was a whisper between them, but she finally spoke it aloud. Eleanor, she said. Clear, defiant. Strong enough to echo across the lanterns and shadows. The town hesitated. The rope wavered in the hands of someone at the front. Voices murmured, unsure now. She had stepped forward, claimed herself, and for a moment, that was enough to fracture their certainty. She's alive, the rancher said. And she's standing. That's all you get tonight. The crowd shifted. Murmurs rose, low and uncertain. They hadn't expected her to speak. Not like this. Not at all. They were circling, faceless, testing, but now unsure. The rope felt lighter in their hands, less certain, as if they sensed the shift. You speak too loud, one man muttered. Fear or warning, Eleanor couldn't tell. I speak because you refuse to see, she said, voice firm. Each word cut through the night. The lanterns flickered in rhythm with her voice, shadows dancing across faces she couldn't see. The rancher placed a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. They hesitate because you exist, he said. Because you're here. And they can't decide that for you. Somewhere behind the crowd, a horse shifted, hoof striking dirt. Another shadow moved closer, testing. The rope shook faintly in the hands of the nearest figure. They hadn't anticipated resistance. Not from her. Not from him. She'll hang, someone whispered. Regret or threat? Eleanor didn't flinch. She didn't back down. Not today, the rancher said. Voice low, steady. Enough to carry across the silence, enough to hold the line. Eleanor exhaled slowly, shivering. She was alive. She was standing. That was truth enough tonight. The crowd's voices rose again, overlapping, murmuring, angry, testing. A rope tightened, slackened, moved. Someone nudged it toward her. She didn't reach. She stepped forward instead. Hands out, steady, and took it. The motion was deliberate. Ownership. Defiance. Recognition.